You can see here the peripatus. Okay, and in the case of peripatus, this is you might have seen about the peripatus. This is the worm called peripatus, and this peripatus is also present in Kerala region, and many parts of India we can find peripatus. So it's a widely distributed worm. So it is found in Central America, Caribbean islands, Northern and Southern America. So in several parts of the world this peripatus is found. So once it was thought to be a widely distributed species. Now peripatus is present only in few parts of the world. So as far as the peripatus is considered, it is considered as an arthropod. But the interesting thing about the peripatus is that even though it is an insect or arthropod like arthropod, it still shows some characteristics of the Annelidan family, Annelidal phylum, not family, the phylum Annelida or annelids. So that is why we are studying it, and because of that we call it as a connecting link. We have to understand what is a connecting link. A connecting link is basically an animal that exhibits the features of two neighboring groups of animals. For example, in the case of peripatus, it is exhibiting the features of arthropoda, and it is also exhibiting the features of Annelida. So we can see in peripatus some characteristics of Annelida and some characteristics of arthropoda. And evolutionary scientists therefore consider these species as very much interesting species because they help to relate how animals have evolved from annelid, how annelids have evolved into arthropod. According to the evolutionary process, the annelids were the first formed organism. Later, it is from the group phylum Annelida, the phylum arthropods evolved. So when we are getting these kind of interesting animals, they act as a connecting link. For scientists, it's very useful. They explain the evolution of insects or evolution of arthropods from annelids. That is the importance of these annelids. That is why we are studying it also. Now it is basically an arthropod. Now it is an arthropod and it has jointed legs. Here you can see that here it has a jointed legs. I will show you here. So this is the features of an peripatus. You can find that in the case of this peripatus, it is exhibiting jointed or segmented legs. So one important feature of every arthropod is that arthropods are characterized by jointed leg. Arthro means joined, and poda means leg, jointed leg. That is the meaning of the joined segment. That is the meaning of the word arthropoda. So arthropoda has, for example, if you examine a cockroach, you can see the legs of a cockroach are formed of number of segments. So that is the case. So you take a crab, you can see there are several pieces or several segments for the leg of a crab. So in the case of an arthropoda, they are formed jointed legs. So that is one important feature of this animal. They have a jointed type of legs. Then they have a compound eyes. So presence of compound eyes is another characteristic feature. So in the case of annelids, we can't find any compound finds. Only in insect-like organism or arthropods we are finding. What is a compound eye? Compound eyes are eyes, basically eyes. A single eye, many thousands of eyes are combined into a single eye. Or for example, best example is the case of a housefly. If you look at the eyes of a housefly, we can say thousands of smaller eyes. Thousands of smaller eyes are combined together to form a single eye. Such a single eye formed of multiple eyes is known by the name compound eyes. So here in the case of peripatus, it is exhibiting compound eyes. Then trachea. What is trachea? Is the respiratory organ. If you look at the annelida, in the case of annelida, it has the respiratory organ is different. For example, earthworm. Earthworm is an annelid. We can't find any trachea-like thing in the case of earthworm. So there is difference in the case of the respiratory organ. That is another important feature. Then they have a worm-like segmented body. You might have seen, you just compare a crab, you compare an insect, housefly, and most of the other arthropods, they don't exhibit any worm-like or cylindrical body shape. This cylindrical body shape or worm-like body pattern is actually exhibited by the annelids. So if you look at the features of this group, you can say this is the feature of a peripatus. It is almost looking like a worm, or almost like a bigger what we call, and thicker earthworm or something like that. So it has a worm-like appearance, and this worm-like appearance itself is a characteristic feature of the Annelida. So that is why it is said to be exhibiting several characteristics of Annelida. Then non-chitinous cuticle. You know what is a cuticle? The cuticle, for the case of every insect, the outer body part is very thick, and this thick outer body part is called cuticle. And in the case of this animal, there is no hard exoskeleton. The exoskeleton is quite smooth, just like an earthworm or other kind of soft. The outer body covering or outer body skin is very soft and flexible, not like an insect. In the case of an insect, the outer body covering or body wall is very thick and rigid. So that is not the case in the case of peripatus. So in these features we can find that they are similar to an earthworm or similar to a Annelida in its basic characteristics. Then presence of segmental nephridia. So nephridia is the excretory organ in the case of annelids. So so if you might have seen the excretory organ of a cockroach. What is the excretory organ of a cockroach? That is the Malpighian tubules. So in the case of most of the advanced insects or arthropods, we are finding a Malpighian tubule or similar type of excretory organ. But here in Annelida, we can't find any kind of excretory organ like that. So that is an interesting thing about the excretory organ. Then so these are some of the important features why we are considering this peripatus as an annelid, as a connecting link between Annelida as well as arthropoda. So for your examination, you might get only a picture of a peripatus, and they will ask you to comment on the evolutionary significance of this animal. Then you have to mention that this is a connecting link between phylum Arthropoda and phylum Annelida, and you must also explain some of the important points of that it has following Annelidan characters, and similarly it has also certain arthropodal characteristics like presence of compound eyes. So such features we have to explain. Then only usually what happens is then when for the spotters, many students write only 1 or 2 sentences. It may be only having 1 mark, but if you don't write properly, you won't get that 1 mark. I think 2 marks are there for spotters. So in order to get 2 marks, you have to write at least half a page. So in your, what is the size of your answer sheet? Of that, you have to write at least half a page or 1/3 of that page. Then only the sufficient points will be, because examiners usually expect that much. So whenever you are writing spotters, always keep in mind at least 1/3 of the page or half a page should be occupied. Otherwise, they will think that because they are not going to read all the points. Another way you can present the idea is that you can list out the points one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4 like. Then only then in that case also examiners will easily note the points. So otherwise you have to write this much. Then next example that we have to see is the Archaeopteryx. So this is actually not the original. It's actually, you might have seen Archaeopteryx. So this is actually a diagrammatic representation of Archaeopteryx might be looking like. So in the case of Archaeopteryx, the interesting thing about an Archaeopteryx is that Archaeopteryx, the Archaeopteryx, if you look at Archaeopteryx, it is a connecting link between 2 groups. The one group is the birds, and the second group is known as a reptile. So in the case of Archaeopteryx, they act as a connecting link between 2 different groups of organism. One is the birds and second one is the reptiles. So the regarding the Archaeopteryx, what we are seeing is that here you can see the picture of an Archaeopteryx, and I will show you another picture. This is the fossil skeleton. This is the place from which the fossil of the Archaeopteryx has been discovered. The fossil of the Archaeopteryx was actually discovered from a place in Germany called Bavaria or something like. Now, if you can see that in the case of an Archaeopteryx, Archaeopteryx is acting as a connecting link between birds and the reptiles. Or to be more precisely, it is a connecting link between modern birds and the dinosaurs. It is from a group of dinosaurs that actually the modern birds has actually evolved. So we can say that they are bird-like reptiles. So importance of Archaeopteryx is that Archaeopteryx clearly shows that the modern birds have evolved from certain flying certain smaller kind of dinosaurs. It is from the dinosaurs, group of dinosaurs, that the modern birds are actually evolved. So that is the importance of an Archaeopteryx. So in this of an Archaeopteryx, they are exhibiting some features of modern birds and some features of reptiles. We can say that they are bird-like reptiles. Their fossils have revealed that they possess the characteristic features of both reptiles and birds. So when we are looking at the fossil of an Archaeopteryx, you can see this is the actual photo of the place from which the Archaeopteryx has been discovered. This is a fossil feather of the Archaeopteryx. So what we are seeing here is that actually a diagrammatic representation based on the imagination of a painter, that he has recreated how the Archaeopteryx might be looking like. So it looks like a modern bird, but it has some feature like presence of claws. The claws, and it's an interesting thing. So we will see what are the important features of Archaeopteryx. So regarding Archaeopteryx, these are the avian character. Avian character means bird-like characters. So for example, jaws are modified into beak. So in all that is one important, that is a mouth part is modified into beak-like structure. You can see the bird-like appearance here. So mouth is actually modified into bird-like beak. So that is one feature. Then forelimbs are modified into wings. Here also you can see that forelimb. This is the forelimbs, and that forelimbs are modified into wings. And feathers are there. We have already seen how the feather of a Archaeopteryx was looking like. It looks almost similar to the feather of a modern bird. Then next point is that limb bones have their first toe opposable. You know what is an opposable toe? Opposable toe means that just like our fingers, for example, our thumb forelimb can be moved, can be brought against each other. That is why we can hold any object like that. So this thumb is opposable. It can come opposite to any other finger. So that is why it is known as opposable thumb. So in the case of Archaeopteryx, we are seeing that its limb bones have their first toe. That is usually the big toe that we are referring to are opposable to other digits. Then foot with a clawed. In the case of foot, we can see that they have a clawed. The clawed digits are there. Okay, so if you look at the digits, you can see that the digits are ending in claws. I will show you the picture of that. If you look the digits here, you can see that. See both the legs as well as the hands. At the end there are claws are there. That we can't find any claws in these modern birds. So the presence of claws is an interesting thing. Then feathery exoskeleton. The exoskeleton is covered with like that of a modern bird. That is feathery exoskeleton. So that is another characteristic feature of the modern birds. Then going to the skull bones. Skull bones are fused. We might have studied about the flight adaptation of modern birds, and you have studied that in the use of modern birds, the skulls are all joined together. They are not and forming a single bone-like thing. So that is a fused cranium, or skull bones are completely fused. we can't find any kind of marking between or separating marking between the different bonds. So that because they are flying, so when because of flying, that is a very energy consuming process. So in order to give rigidity, the skull bones are completely united into one single bone. Then cranium rounded with a large orbit. Orbit means eyes. So if you look at the picture of a here they have a very large eyes. Compared with their body, their eyes are quite big. So that is another feature of the Archaeopteryx, or which are similar to bones. Then single condyle. You might have heard about a term called occipital condyle. Because in the some human beings we have two. Actually, our skull is actually supported on two portions. It is like that. The skull, there are on two portions. The skull is actually supported. But here the skull is actually supported on one structure like this, so that the skull can be rotated 360 degree. Here in our case, our skull is actually supported on two portions, so we can only turn 180 degree. If you turn more than that, we have to be at rest for 1 week or more. So that is the problem in the case of modern human beings. But for most of the birds, their skull is supported only on one support, so they can easily rotate their skull in a 360 degree. So these are the features. So these are the avian features. Now we will come to the reptilian features. In these reptilian features, an important feature is the jaws are with homodont teeth. Here you can see that. In the case of the jaws are consisting of homodont teeth. So there are several teeth up. So in a modern bird, we can't find any teeth on their beak. So presence of teeth is an indication that this is a reptile, but presence of a feather is an indication that this is a bird. So it was a confusion for scientists to which group you have to include. That is why they are actually keeping it as a connecting at the end of the annelida, or at the end of the reptilian classification and at the beginning of the avian classification, or they consider it as a connecting link. So these are the features of the reptilian features. There are a few more reptilian features. Rims are with a single head. That is another character. Rims are because if you examine the ribs of a human being, there are two heads at the end. So that is one feature. But rims are in the case of reptiles, their ribs are only having a single head. Then abdominal rims like that of a crocodile. Now if you look at the ribs of a Archaeopteryx, its ribs are similar to the reptile. To be more precisely, a reptile like a crocodile. Crocodile and dinosaurs are closely related. So we say that the Archaeopteryx was more closely related to a dinosaur-like reptile than other groups. So it was with the dinosaurs, Archaeopteryx has more similarity. So that the modern crocodile is the nearest relative living relative of our dinosaurs. Then the forelimbs modified into wings and 3 digits ending in distinct claws. So here you can see that the forelimbs are this is the forelimbs. There are 4 limbs are there, and each of the 4 limbs each of the 3 digits are ending in claws. So presence of claws on the 4 limbs is an indication that it is a reptile. Now going to the hind limbs are 4 digits. Now in this, and they are also ending in the claws. There are 4 digits are there in these hind limbs, 1, 2, 3, and 1 at the back. So there are 4 digits in the legs also. Then there is a long tail. Here you can see this is a long tail. There is a long tail also here. So presence of a long tail is you imagine a crocodile. The crocodile has a very long tail. So most of the modern reptiles that we are seeing are having a long tail. So presence of a long tail is a characteristic feature of the reptiles or then, so these are some of the reptilian character. So that is why we are today we are considering this evolutionary fossil, which we have got from Germany as an bird reptile. To be very, that is a bird they are using, bird reptile, because they exhibit the features of birds and they also exhibit the features of the reptiles also. Then we have two more animals. One is a Protopterus. Going to the Protopterus is called as the lungfish. I will show you an example of the lung. This is the picture of the lungfish. So lungfish is an interesting animal. Now in the case of lungfish, the importance of the lungfish is that lungfish is exhibiting some features of the amphibians and some features of the fishes. So that is because the lungfishes are living in swamp areas. Sometimes where water may not, there won't be sufficient amount of water, and most of the time they will be living out of the water. And because of that, they gradually developed an organ similar to lungs. And that is why today when we are examining the lungfish, they are showing in lungs or an organ similar to lungs. And it is from the lungfishes or group similar to lungfishes the modern amphibians have evolved. So first comes the fishes. Among the evolution of the vertebrates, the first group of organisms that occupied earth are actually fishes. From the fishes the amphibians evolved. From amphibians reptiles evolved. From reptiles birds evolved. And from the reptiles mammals evolved. So these are the different groups of vertebrates that we are finding. So regarding the Protopterus, what we are finding is that it is exhibiting an evolutionary transition from water, the animals breathing oxygen dissolved in the water to animals breathing oxygen present in the air. So this is the significance of the lungfish, because the lungfishes are periodically exposed to water with low oxygen content or situation in which aquatic environment dries up because of extreme drought in different parts of the world. Like most of the time we can find these lungfishes in Australia, South America, and also in Africa, where these swamps where these lungfishes are living usually dries up. So they have an adaptation for dealing with this kind of extreme dried environment, and they develop some kind of outpocketing of the gut. This outpocketing or some additional projections of the gut or intestine, and they gradually develop this outpocketing into a proper lung. So that is how the lungfishes develop the lungs. So presence of lungfishes is a indication that lungfish is acting as a connecting link between amphibians and the fishes. Now last one is the echidna. Going to the echidna, the importance of echidna is that this is the animal known by the name echidna. Now here, this is one more picture I will show you. So going to the echidna is showing many features of mammals and also the case of the reptile. And what are the important features of mammals? Now going to echidna, importance of mammals is that their mammalian features are presence of fur. What is a fur? Hair, presence of body hair. The presence of body hair is a characteristic feature of mammals. All mammals are possessing fur, but so there are some mammals which don't have fur. For example, if you look at a whale, if you look at an elephant, if you look at even if modern human beings are taken, still our body don't have much hair. But still, this lack of this body hair is actually a secondary modification. Basically, all mammals possess body hair. So presence of body hair or fur in this echidna is an indication that it's a mammal. Then it produces milk. Ability to produce milk is another characteristic. Modern only mammals are capable of producing milk. Reptiles don't have the capacity. Fishes don't have that capacity. Amphibians or birds also don't have that capacity. So only in this modern mammal, the ability to produce milk is that is mammary glands are there and they are able to produce. Then produce body heat and regulate their body temperature. That is another interesting thing. If you take a reptile, reptiles are considered as cold-blooded animal. It is a cold-blooded. You know what is the meaning of the word cold-blooded animal? Animals which can't maintain their proper stable body temperature. Their body temperature varies with the temperature of the environment. But what we are finding in mammals is that mammals are homeothermic. That is, they have a stable body temperature, usually 37 degree around that. So here you can say that they have the ability to maintain a body temperature, though it is not 37, still around 32 degree they are maintaining a body temperature, which are much higher than the normal body temperature of a reptile. So here we are finding that they are, in this case, they are showing so many similarities with the mammals. So we call it, so we consider it as a mammal. but as an unfinished mammal. As I was teaching you in the last class, you might be remembering that it is a unfinished mammal. Why it is an unfinished mammal? Because it doesn't exhibit all the characteristics of a modern mammal. Here you can see what are the differences that it is exhibiting from a modern advanced mammal. Why we consider this an unfinished mammal? Because they are laying eggs. All mammals are giving birth to their young ones. Though no proper mammal, advanced mammal, are laying eggs. So the presence of the feature of egg-laying character itself is not a mammalian character. It's a reptilian character. So like all reptiles, they are laying eggs. So that is one interesting thing. Young are hatched and not born. So as they are developing or hatching out of their eggs. The body are stocky with no discernible or no proper neck. For example, to take our own case, we have between egg and our trunk there is a distinct neck. The presence of neck is a mammalian character. In reptiles, you think of a crocodile. There is no proper neck. So absence of neck is a character of the reptile. Now, going to limbs are held horizontal to the body, just like the limbs of a modern crocodile. Then snout has mechanoreceptors and electroreceptors. These mechanoreceptors and electroreceptors are sensory organs. Actually, they have the ability to dictate ground vibration as well as electrical field around that. And none of the modern mammals have that feature. So then that is also a reptilian character. No teeth. Have mouth pads instead of keratin. That is, if you look at the mouth of a echidna, you can find that we can't find any teeth inside that. So instead of teeth, what we are finding is that we can very thick horny mouth pads. It is with the help of this hard skin-like hard portion of the jaw that it is biting. Then snout found by elongate nasal bones and jaw bones. Here you can see that of the snout. Snout is the front portion of the mouth. This is the snout, and this snout is actually formed of two portions, elongated nasal bone as well as jaw bones. Now in none of the modern mammal we can find a snout like that. Then little development of outer ear. There is no outer ear. You can't see any outer ear or pinna. Absence of pinna is a characteristic of reptile. Hind feet rotate outwards. That's the way the movement of hind feet. Mother lacks nipples, because in all modern mammals there will be a mammary gland, and mammary gland usually is producing or pumping the milk outwards with the help of nipples or teeth. Both are absent in the case of that. But what we are seeing is that there will be some holes or pores on the region, on the chest region, and through these holes milk will be oozing out, and when milk will be wetting the body hair there, and the young ones of the echidna will be sucking the milk which are present in that region by sucking the body hair. So that itself is a primitive character, but it all indicates that the reptiles have evolved from the mammals have evolved from reptile. Young suckle from the skin patch, milk expelled from milk gland through pore openings. Then spur on the ankle connects to a gland near the knee. So there is a spur on the leg that is connecting this connects to a gland. A gland is present actually at the knee region. So that is itself is not a mammalian character. Then presence or absence depends on sex, age, and the presence of this spur that depends on the sex, and sometimes only present in, for example, in platypus we can find a poisonous gland. Then the skeletal structure itself is different. So we can see that there are a lot of difference between the skeleton of and the body organization of a modern mammal and an echidna. So that is why we consider echidna as an unfinished mammal. But because of the presence of this character, it is an interesting animal, because it acts as a connecting link. It is a concrete evidence to prove that mammals evolved from reptiles. So this is why we are studying these four groups of animals, and For your examination, you get only you get a spotters, either any picture of this for out of this four, you will get one picture, and you have to explain what is the importance. You can show the, you can first point definitely if it is a connecting link between reptile and mammal. Then you have to list out what are the reptilian character and what are the mammalian character, and like that you have to explain this of all other examples. So with this I am stopping here. It is too